Hey guys, good morning. It's Tony. I did want to release a second video of the series of from support and resistance. The first video that I released was showing support and resistance and how to use it on a rally. For example, I showed you how to put support and resistance when you see a rally like this, and essentially where to put all your support and resistance, right? And how to use it, where to put it, and how low, how high to actually go. Right now for Ethereum, I'll be doing the same thing, but price is not really consolidating, but it's just been trading in this range for a while, right? It's been trading between these highs of, roughly like 43, 4,400 to like these lows here. So, basically what I would do now is because price is consolidating, generally you would want to do, your support or resistance somewhere around here, right? This would basically be your major area that you would focus on. I mean, unless price drops like all the way back down to here, then you can start adding more support and resistance. But again, price is kind of consolidating. We're not really consolidating, but just trading between this range. These highs, these lows. So you can kind of focus on just this middle area to put your support and resistance. And again, let's start the same exact way like we did last time. All you do right now is you're adding where there are most of the wicks touching. And again, you do not want to use the current weekly candle. So this candle right here, this one, you're not using it because it's currently active, and you don't want to use active candles. You want to use historical candles, right? Historical wicks. So we can start by actually adding the top, right? So if you want to do this, you can do this too. So if you want, you can actually add resistance at 43.81, which is the high from this wick. I don't usually add it too much, but you can definitely add it if you would like. So again, wick. You have wick right here, and then you have a very tiny little wick right there, right? So, I guess that the easiest way to explain it is I'm going to show you guys how exactly I do it, right, to make it a little bit easier. So generally I would just kind of go down. I would just kind of go down the chart, and you see how there's like the horizontal line, like the little blue dashed horizontal line. I'd go down the chart, and I would keep an eye on every single instance of it hitting a candle, of a wick, sorry, right? So it's hitting this wick, this wick, this wick, and then this one. So in a case like this, because a lot of people are like, oh, where would you even put it? And I'm like, you know what? Right now it's hitting the top of the first wick right here, hitting this wick, and hitting this wick, right? So if I put it right here, it's hitting the top of this wick. What you want to do is you want to put it all the way down so it hits the top of the lowest wick, right? That's what I would do. I would just go straight down, and then as soon as you get that fourth wick hit right here, so I wouldn't put it down here at 3967. I'd actually put it right on top. So 3975, 76, whatever. So I would actually add it right there. And the reason I add it right there is because it's hitting right above that last wick that it's touching. So it's hitting every single wick, and then it's hitting right above this one. And I hope that makes sense to everybody watching. That's generally how I would stop my wick if it's touching a whole bunch, right? Again, we'll do it for this one right here. So you see, I'm basing it off of these 3 wicks right here. So we'll keep going. Right now, you do have this wick, this one, and then you have these 2 wicks touching, right? So I'd basically go all the way, and I'd stop right here. And I'd stop right there because you already have these 2 wicks touching, and then you have the very bottom of this wick touching. So there you go. You would stop right there, right? So immediately you have your high and your low of support and resistance, right, of a general area. And again, I do the same thing. Go all the way up and see if any wicks actually touch. And again, right here, you have a wick touching right here, and then you have these 2 wicks touching. So I'd go up, and you would set support. You would set another support right there. I generally tend to stick to mostly points. So I would probably add it here, and I would add it here, and possibly here. And then that's kind of it. Like I said, so an easier way to tell, or an easier way to actually do this is roughly by going to your chart type, and then putting a line instead of actually using candles, and kind of have an idea of where your points are. So you have a point right here, point here, 2 points down here, and then you have your low point right here, right? Generally, so that's what I like to do in the beginning, just to kind of get an idea of where the actual major points are of resistance and support. So instead of going like here and then here, then here, I generally focus on just points, right? So there's a point right here. This is like a nice little point right here. I'd focus on this wick, and then I'd go all the way down to see if there's any more wicks touching, and it's touching this wick right here, right? So I'd go down, and I basically stop at the top of this wick. So it's touching this wick, and then the top of this wick right here, and I would set up another support resistance right there. And again, there's another peak right here, same thing. I'd go down to here, and it's touching, wick right here, wicks, and then maybe a little bit of this one, right? So I'd go down here to do that, set it right there. And then again, you're gonna have more support like right here, somewhere around this range. So you want to see, you want to see where you have like the most wicks touch, right? So you have wick, these wicks, and then this wick right here. So in a case like this, you want to decide, where do you want to actually add your wick? Do you want to base it off the candle creation over here, or do you want to base it off actual, wicks on this side? And in this case, I would actually add it based off of the wicks over here, just because it's the most recent structure that you've had, right? So again, wick, and then wick. You just go all the way up until maybe you touch the bottom of this wick right here. Like maybe like right there. I don't want to go too high, and this is kind of your basic price structure. You can maybe also add another one like right here, another piece of what is it called, resistance or support right here, just because you do have a wick over here, you have a wick touching here, and then here, right? So actually let's do that, because that actually seems to be a nice strong support. So we'll do right there. And again, we're not basing this off of this active wick, this active candle right now. We're actually basing it off the last couple right here. So there you go. That's actually how you would stay within a range. Like I said, you don't need to add, a bunch of wicks, a bunch of support and resistance where price doesn't really like matter. You don't need to add a bunch of, support and resistance down here, because price is all the way up here, right? It doesn't really matter. And generally, when you use the weekly, you have a very large time frame. You have a very large, space of your resistance and support. So you can possibly, if you see Ethereum just kind of trade between this, it could possibly do this for like months, right? So as soon as you set it up one time, you don't have to go back for a very long time. It doesn't make it would be it's very rare for me to change the support and resistance. Because I use the weekly, you're not gonna have huge fluctuations in price, right? So I started, let's say I started back in July, right? And I have all the support and resistance. This would last, up until now, a couple of months, like I said. So if you have all this set up, and Ethereum stays trading between this range, possibly goes higher. If it goes higher, it's really just going to be adding maybe one or two supports and resistance on the weekly, and that's kind of it, to be honest. But again, this is generally how to add support and resistance within a general range. The first video was actually showing you guys, how to add support and resistance when you have a rally. This would be more of a range. And again, range would be right here. Whoops. This is your general range on Ethereum, right here. Right now. This is where you have your high, your low, support and resistance in the middle. And again, if you see like Ethereum break above this resistance, then for the most part it's going to go to the upside, right? If you see it break this range right here, these bottom wicks to the low side, for the most part it's going to go down, possibly back to maybe like, let me see, somewhere around like $1,300 if it breaks this 1600 range or something, 1800 range. But again, this is really just to show you guys how to add support and resistance on the weekly chart. And again, this is using major resistance and support. I don't like using the daily because your charts can get super convoluted with stuff, right? And again, you can definitely use the daily And in a case like that, you would possibly only use the trading range between, like, let me see, I'll delete this for you guys. So I mean, if you want to use like the daily chart to do more, like to do smaller, like shorter trades, you would do the same exact thing, right? You get your low, which is like right, let's say like right here of your trading range, and you put it up to your high. And you would really only focus on adding support and resistance in this single range, right? So you would add support right here, possibly the resistance right there, and then would add like another one like right here. So you really only have 3 zones that you would add it, which essentially ends up being the same thing as using the weekly. That's why I like using the weekly, because for the most part, you're basically doing the exact same. It's the same thing, right? And you can see that you actually have a pretty good range of support and resistance, right? So you have this right here. I mean, if you want, you can go ahead and like, move it a little bit if you see that it's more accurate on the daily. Again, the weekly is a bigger time frame, so you might be a couple of, maybe a couple of dollars off, especially with like Ethereum's price is in the thousands, right? So you can definitely adjust it. But again, if you want to do like a smaller setup, again, just do the same exact thing. Pick a range, pick a high-low range between, like a really like a good range between your ticker, whatever you're using, and then just do your support and resistance through there. You don't have to, put resistance down here if you're really only trading this range right now, right? So again, that's why I always just do the weekly, because it basically does a bunch of stuff for you right at the beginning, right? It gives you this whole mess of trading ranges where you're essentially trading up and down, up and down, up and down. So I hope this video helps you guys out. It should give you a better understanding of how to add support and resistance on consolidating price. And then also the first video that I released was how to add support and resistance on a rally. And the next video that I released is going to be how to add support and resistance on a downtrend, which is very similar to the rally when you see a bull push to the upside. It's a little bit different actually, but I'll still release that video sometime soon. So I'll see you guys later. Have a great day, and I really hope this video helps you guys out. Bye bye.